Before you casually toss prompt ideas into Midjourney and hope for the best, like this one, stop. I need to show you something that will forever change how you work with this tool. And this is an example of what a lot of designers create when they start without direction or clarity. And I want you to watch what happens when you ask 5 specific questions first. I've created tens of thousands of images in Midjourney, and I can tell you that the difference between amateur and professional results comes down to really one idea, which is clarity. Most people think it's about prompting skills. It's not. It's about getting that idea clarity before you ever open Midjourney. So, what do you want? In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through an example project creating marketing assets for an Italian food festival, and you'll see exactly how 5 simple questions turned, here's where we started, and here's where we ended up. And I'm going to do this live so you can see the exact process as we dialed in the image from starting off with something that clearly wasn't working. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask 5 questions, building the perfect prompt in real time with each one. You know, normally we would work on the inputs first before going into Midjourney, but I want you to see how each of these ideas can affect the overall image. Remember, this is a professional workflow, and normally you're going to start with the image, and that's what you're going to take into Midjourney, but I'm just going to be building some things just so you can see what's up. The Italian food festival here, by the way, is just an example that we're using to demonstrate this method, and you obviously can use this on any client project that's currently on your schedule. But here's the thing. Question number 1 here really changes everything, and this is where most people skip it just completely. And this question is, what style should this feel like? This question changes everything, and here's why most people get it wrong. So when clients say, make it look good, do something cool, make it professional, they have a specific visual style in mind, but they just can't describe it. Your job is to get them to show it to you, not tell you. So instead of asking, hey, what do you want? Which gets you nowhere, ask this. Show me 3 images that capture the style you're envisioning. For our Italian food festival, let's say the event director gives us these 3 references: a pizza, a bowl of spaghetti with meatballs, and a bottle of wine with a glass of wine. So now we have visual clarity that they want rustic looking, vintage, and maybe a hand-drawn aesthetic. Not sleek, not modern, certainly not photographic. And watch how this changes everything. So let's take those ideas that the event director gave us and let's just try one item. Okay, let's just do pizza. So we'll do pizza, rustic, vintage, hand-drawn. And let's keep our parameters just kind of basic. We'll do something kind of horizontal here because we want a pizza, right? Let's make that 150 and we'll leave the variety maybe at 15. This is going to give us some different ideas. We're just seeing what we can get right here, and we want to see where we are with things. So remember, we're not trying to get the end result. We're just using this as an idea generator to get going, and we might check with the client and go, hey, is this what you have in mind? As usual, we're going to do repeat 4, and that way I'm generating 16 images instead of just 4. And immediately we get some really good different ideas. I like that one a lot. You know, this is pizza, rustic, vintage, hand-drawn. This is the type of thing that we could actually play on, right? So we could do very strong, very subtle. You know, we didn't give any ingredients. We didn't give it any direction. We just said these 5 basic kind of ideas. And then this is how we can build on something and get us to a better result because we're actually kind of playing with some stuff. And we can use this as kind of a mood board thing to different ideas for ads and different things. So this really kind of helps us get this project off the ground. And we only spent 20 whole seconds on this. All right. So now let's go back and see what the next question is. What colors should dominate? And here's what happens when you skip the color conversation. It's easy to think that because this is the Italian food festival, everything should be in red and green, and you could certainly create something beautiful, but what if it's the wrong colors for their brand, season, or audience? Then you're actually doing it over. Colors aren't just pretty, they communicate, and every client has color opinions, even if they don't realize it. So let's spend some time and get that color clarity up front. So we want to ask the question, what color should dominate? And just as important, what color should we avoid? And here's what the client said. We want rich, authentic Italian colors. Think ripe tomatoes, fresh basil, golden olive oil, but avoid anything too bright or artificial looking. So this gives us the color direction, right? So they want rich tomato reds, but deeper tones to avoid looking artificial, fresh basil greens, golden olive oil tones, and a natural warm palette. So we don't want artificial. We want to look authentic. Now let's plug that idea back into Midjourney with what we've already been developing, and let's see where we go. All right, so let's plug in our new prompts, right? So pizza, rustic, vintage, hand-drawn, rich colors, red, green, gold, and warm natural color palette. Now we have a little visual direction. If we wanted to, we could take one of these and kind of plug that in as a style reference, and we might do that. I'm curious as to what we get just with this. So maybe we get something better. So let's figure that out and try it first. So as always, I'm going to do repeat 4. So I'm getting 16 images all at once. Did we get anything that we like better? That's interesting. I hate this border thing, but I like the pizza. That's kind of a wallpaper look. Here's more of a painting. This is kind of like a thing that we did, but it's got a lot of notes on it. That's interesting. That's really nice. Love that. Don't like the type, but I like just having a slice. That could be something we might come back to. So I love just kind of playing in Midjourney to find out what we're doing. But you see how we have a little better color palette. So I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to choose one of these to use as an image. I like that one. So let's use that as a style reference. And then let's put our prompt in. Now, when we have a style reference, remember we can control how much of the style, the image that we have, influences our result using a style weight. And I'm going to show you that real quick. So here's the style weight, and we're going to try a bunch of stuff. So we're going to do a style weight. The default, by the way, is 100. So I always like to go a little under that. So let's start with 80. And then let's do 200, 400, and 600. Right now, the higher the number, the more make it look like our reference. The lower the number, you're giving it a little more freedom, right? So let's see what we get using this image as a style reference and these different style weights, and see if we can get something that looks really great. See how the colors are a little brighter? You still got that authentic little hand-drawn look. Now remember, we're just noodling around here, and we got several more questions left to go. But I gotta tell you, I like these better. I like the colors a little better. Okay, let's find out what the third question is. So let's check out the difference between the results we received in the first question, right, which is the basic rustic, vintage, hand-drawn, versus the results that we did when we added some color ideas to it. What do you think? Are we getting on track here? It looks like when we added more prompts, we had a little more detail in the drawing, but the colors don't look as rich. But that's okay, because question number 3 is where we get really specific about what people are going to see, And this is where it all kind of comes together. So here's the question. What should be featured? And this is where most designers are making their biggest mistake, because this is about the subject of the image. So without discussing it with the client, here we can assume that maybe they want a lasagna or spaghetti or pizza, right? Well, how do we know for sure? But here's the thing, not all food is created equal, and your client knows exactly what dishes best represent their event. So if you guess wrong, you're creating a lot of beautiful images that could be about the wrong things. So here's what I want you to ask. Remember, this is for our food event, so you dial it into what you're doing. What specific dishes or elements best represent this festival? Because we want to know that's in their brain. So here's what the client said. The stars of our festival are fresh handmade pasta, and this year's featured dish is spaghetti carbonara, and you can actually watch the chefs make it. So that's really kind of cool, right? We also have authentic wood-fired pizza and incredible gelato for dessert. And that's what makes this event feel authentic. Now, it's perfect. We've got visual focus, and we are guessing on the subject of the images, so we know that they want spaghetti carbonara, they want wood-fired pizza, and they want gelato. And notice how specific this is. It's not just Italian food, and of course we guessed pizza, right? But now the exact dishes that they're actually doing at the festival are really going to help us hone in on our Midjourney prompt. Okay, let's put those dishes into our prompt. And here we're doing some power permutation with the curly bracket here, spaghetti carbonara, wood-fired pizza, and gelato. And so what that's going to do is going to use all of this for each of these as individual things, right? And of course, we want to use our image. We want to use our sref also. So let's make sure we're using that. And we're using 3 ideas. So let's do repeat 2. And that way we get at least 2 versions of each of these just to see if we can get something and sneak up on it that we really like. Now, I love doing power permutations. And by the way, if you haven't done this before, what it does is it organizes it by the whatever's in the bracket. So you'll see that these 2 rows are spaghetti carbonara, these 2 rows are pizza, these 2 rows are gelato, right? So let's see if they like what Midjourney's serving us up, right? That one's okay. Love that one. I love this kind of hand feel to it. I think we're on the right track. That looks fantastic. So does that. It's in a bowl. Love that. So any of these stand out? I gotta say that one. Although I really like that one a lot too, right? So let's look at the pizza. Did we get better pizzas like that? Now, of course, we can always hit subtle, strong, very subtle, very strong, and get variations. We're not doing that yet. We just want to see what we get right off the bat. Also, you know, we could always edit where we can delete things if we wanted to or add them, you know, that kind of thing, right? And then our gelato, right? We are kind of like that. That's really cool. That's awesome. Kind of makes it look like dessert with the coffee, right? Love the idea of all the fruits in the bowls. That looks fantastic. I don't know. I really like this one. Anyway, so you can see how we're adding more things to our prompt. By the way, this process is called additive prompting. I'm a big fan of that. Now let's see what our actual question number 4 brings and see if we can tie some things together. What mood are we creating with the graphic? And sometimes I gotta tell you, this gets a little confusing. So does a graphic need a mood? But in this case, I think a designer might want to think about the mood of the event. It's festive, it's fun, it's celebratory even, but that's not what we're asking. What we're asking is about the mood of the graphic itself. What should a viewer feel when they look at the design, right? So the good news is that your client knows exactly what sort of mood they're trying to convey. All you have to do is ask. So ask this: how should people feel when they see this design? And our client said, we want people to feel like they're discovering something authentic and special, not fancy or intimidating, more like finding a hidden gem. warm, inviting, like you're being welcomed into an Italian family kitchen. That's a great mood. So that gives us the direction that we need, right? So it's authentic, it's warm and welcoming, it talks about family kitchen intimacy, it's a hidden gem, not some sort of fancy restaurant, and it's inviting and not intimidating. And so now, guess what? That's really going to how we change our direction about this whole image, because we kind of really have a really great idea about that, and we can change our prompts to reflect this mood. Let's do that. All right, so let's put those new prompt ideas in. So we're still using the power permutations, still with the same prompts: rustic, vintage, hand-drawn, rich colors, red, green, gold, warm, natural color palette, but we also added authentic, welcoming, inviting. And then let's go ahead and use the same style reference. And let's go ahead and do repeat 4. As always. Actually, last time we did repeat 2. This time we're doing repeat 4. This is going to give us tons of stuff. We're kind of near the end here. And it's done creating all those images. And I think here we're getting really, really good stuff, right? So this is all the pasta. I don't know if I like it in a bowl or a plate better. I really like the bowl look. What do you think? And then here's the pizza. That looks great. I like that one the best so far. There you go. Now for the gelato, what it's doing is it's giving us the gelato store instead of the actual product. And I don't think that's going to work. And that's the crazy thing about Midjourney is sometimes you don't get what you want at all. Oh, here you go. I like the idea of maybe a gelato counter. I wasn't even thinking about that, but I don't think they pile it up there like little snowmen. So here's the deal is we did better results with the gelato back here. And I really like this one with the cherry. I'm not a gelato expert, but I think it's probably served more in dishes like this. I would probably tend to go like this. That's kind of a place to start. So anyway, we got a bunch of really great images. So we have one more question to ask, and wondering what it is? Okay, let's recap. We started off with something where we had no idea what we wanted to do. And this is typical of people using Midjourney. It's just, we put some stuff in, we got something, we hate it. But now, here's where we are. So let's look at the progression. We asked the client some questions. We wanted a rustic, vintage, hand-drawn look. And we asked some more questions about colors. And we kind of got some new perspective on that. And then we also talked about, use cases and mood and that type of stuff. And now, looking at these, I got to tell you, I really like the first one more than the other ones. And that's okay. That's part of Midjourney. Sometimes, by playing around, you really like the original thing that you created. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't get crazy here. But we also created some pasta, created some gelato, and everything is kind of evolving in its own little environment and world, and that's fantastic, right? So, what do you think question number 5 is about? How will these be used? And this is probably one of the most underused questions for the professional creative when we're using stuff with AI image generators, right? Because not only does this provide a better understanding of the project, but potentially it can give you more profit because you can create and design multiple iterations of the initial idea and actually charge for them, right? So posters have different needs than a t-shirt design or a website banner image, and it's really crucial that you nail down actually how they're going to be using all these images so you can build them correctly. So the question that we have to ask is, how will these graphics be used? And tell me all about the assets that you need so I can create them. And our event director said that we need social media posts for Instagram and Facebook. We need a website banner for the homepage. We need posters to put all around town. And we're also thinking about doing t-shirts for volunteers and actually to sell to make more money, because merch is where a lot of money is generated, right? and maybe even some smaller graphics for email newsletters and icons for directional signage and all of that other stuff, right? So this is a really great thing for us because this fifth question gives us these ideas, and now we know that we need some stuff for social media, we need stuff for the website, for posters, for t-shirts, and icons and stuff for directional signage. And now we know that stuff, we can kind of use the ideas that we've built in Midjourney and actually start playing around and editing to help us build this stuff out. And let me show you how you do that. All right, so now we're back at Midjourney, and what we need to do is be thinking about how we're going to use these images and can we fine tune them. And so we've got three ideas, right? The spaghetti carbonara, the pizza, and the gelato. And while I'm only going to work with one of these ideas, which as you can tell is the gelato, I'm a huge ice cream fan and I like gelato a lot. And I want to play with this a little more, right? So here's what we need to think about is how we're going to use these images, right? So we need something that's square. We need maybe something that's Instagram ready. We need a website banner, maybe something for some posters. Can I make a t-shirt with some gelato? Maybe some icons. Well, here's what I'll tell you is, let's try to refine this image first, right? So let's throw this prompt back in here, right? And then what's first thing is, I want to take this out of the background, right? Can I just get a bowl of gelato, but in this style? Let's see if we can replicate that, right? So maybe we need to change our prompt up a little bit, right? So we got gelato, rustic, vintage, hand-drawn, rich colors, red, gold, blah, 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 right? Nothing about a cherry, nothing about a background, nothing about, you know, this kind of torn paper look. So one of the things I want to do, I want to say isolated. And what this does is it says, okay, no background, just the thing, okay? And the other thing I like to do is to give it a background color, like flat white background, flat black background, or flat blue background, or something like that. But when you introduce a color, sometimes it changes what the image looks like. So I'm just going to say flat tan background because we know tan's already in there. And then also, I don't know about this cherry or whatever, and so maybe we need more description of the bowl, more description on the gelato, just so maybe we don't get a fruit, right? So let's also think about, let's say scoops. I wonder if scoops is going to be, Midjourney will misinterpret that. Let's try it anyway. Scoops of gelato, rustic style, vintage, hand-drawn, rich colors, red, green, gold, warm natural color palette. Let's just say warm natural colors. Isolated flat tan background, blah, 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 blah. Let's see, and we've got our image of the pizza in there as the style point. Let's take that out and let's put our gelato in. Let's also add no cherry because I don't think the cherry needs to be in there. And maybe we needed something description on the bowl. This is an event. It's probably not going to be served on china. So let's also add paper bowl, paper cup, paper bowl. And as always, repeat 4. Okay, much better. I like that look. Don't like the paper. What do you think? Much better, don't you think? Now you see how changing these prompts gives us a better result. Just looking at these from an overview, I kind of like this one the best. You know, it's got all the colors in there. It really works. But of course, we can edit a lot of this stuff out either in Midjourney or in Photoshop later. So I'm not worried about that. I think we have a winner. So if we're going to use this, okay, let's think about how we're going to use this later, okay? We might need a poster. We might need a website banner. We need it in a square format, maybe something for Instagram. All of that means that we're going to be editing it. So let's go to the editor, and this is how you can change this real quick. So first off, let's just do a square format. and we can hit go. By the way, you can't really make this much bigger because we're going to lose the edges, right? So we're going to really have to keep this the original size. What we could do is know that we need some type and text and stuff. We can push this down toward the bottom of the frame, knowing that we need something up here, but we're going to have this little black kind of stuff here. So one thing I could do is just delete this, and that way maybe it fills it in a little better. So we also need maybe an Instagram type deal. Same thing. We could push this down. Now we have all this room up here if we wanted to. And then if we go to 16:9, this could be our web version. Maybe, do we want it centered or maybe like that? This edge here. And what else? I think that's going to do it, right? And then of course, maybe we take one of these and we'll do another prompt for, you know, a gelato on a cone for the icon. And so let's see what we get first. So here's our originals. And this is the square version, which looks great. Okay, and then we've got other versions of this. Now, Midjourney gives you stuff like this. I'm just going to ignore that. Who cares, right? And then also when we do the longer version, we really wanted this to be empty up here. Hopefully Midjourney gives us that, and it looks like it doesn't. That's okay. Also, we can try editing this out the hard way, but worst case scenario, we can just extend this later somewhere else. So I'm not too worried about that. Let's go ahead and give this one try to see if we can just erase this, and then maybe give it another prompt here where we could say emphasis on negative space to let Midjourney know that, hey, we don't need a bunch of stuff up there. And then what do we get with our landscape here? See, the problem is it wants to fill this in. And again, sometimes if you just use your editor, you can get it to do it right. See, it kept filling it in. That's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have to delete that in Photoshop and not worry about it because it's something that we really like. Again, you know, Midjourney is an image creator. It likes to fill stuff in, right? And it gets super frustrating sometimes. I know, I feel your pain. It's okay, right? So let's go ahead and do a scoop of gelato on a cone. So let's just say gelato, waffle cone, change the aspect ratio here. There you go. Perfect. So we could use this, we could add type to it, our poster, whatever. I think this is really going to work for us. Now let's put everything together. So here are a few mock-up versions that we can present to our client to see if they like it. As you can see, it only took a couple moments to create because you watched me do it. But here's the idea with some text added so you can see just how this might look, right? So this allows you to get a completely professional package going that you could send to your client. And this is a way that you can sneak up on some things. Of course, not everything has to look exactly like this. This is just as an example, but it gives you kind of an idea of what you can be doing if you use these 5 questions as a framework to get the answers from your customer first, and that way that's going to help you with your Midjourney prompting. So here's our real impact here. We make fewer revisions because we know what they want and we can create to that. This can help you demand higher prices because people will think, gosh, that guy really, or that woman really listens to me and they really know what I want, that we're in alignment, and people love feeling that way. And this is how you're going to create a better and more profitable business for yourself. This can also impact your revenue. More jobs means more revenue. And of course, the more that you work with people, when you're really listening to what they want and delivering on that, they're going to come back, which means they're going to repeat, which leads to a better reputation. This is how you build a book of business, right? So It all comes down to these things, right? So these 5 questions are going to transform your client work. So in the Midjourney Experience community, we dive deeper into client psychology and pricing strategies and all that kind of stuff, and help you get the skills that are going to turn that into consistent income. So use these 5 questions on your next project. The results could really surprise you. Hit subscribe for more professional workflows, and let me know which of these questions surprised you the most. Thanks for watching. Remember, clarity first, creativity second.